Hey everyone, let's take a quick drive in this 2024 Jeep Compass and see what it's about. This here is a limited trim featuring a 2-liter turbocharged engine that produces around 200 horsepower and 221 foot-pounds of torque. It's mated to an 8F30 transmission, which is not a ZF transmission. I'll talk about that later on in the video and how I feel about this powertrain in general. Let's take a quick peek at this one. You can see here, this has the two-tone paint on it. So silver, and then it is the black upper part. Fit and finish in general is solid with a little bit of panel gap there. That's a little bad. Decent looking front end and headlights. Also like these rims on here. Coming around to the rear, not as big of a fan of the rear end here, but it looks okay, all things considered. As you can see, this one has a lot of problems with the safety features here not working, which is a little alarming. This one has 25,447 miles. So keep that in mind for this review. Some of the things on this may not necessarily be the standard and how most of these cars are treated. This is also a rental car, so it could have been beat to crap and I would not know. That being said, let's go ahead and take off and get into it. Before we get too far, let's actually take a quick peek at the visibility. Out of the side windows here, they're reasonably big. Back window, similar. This window is pretty hilarious, and then this is just a massive blind spot right there. With the blind spot monitoring not working half the time, a little bit alarming there. These mirrors are also pretty small, but they get the job done. The engine has not the best sound in the world, but sounds okay. I'm not sure what all they use this 2-liter turbocharged engine in. Has definitely a bit of a grainy texture to it from the, I get a lot of pedal vibration in the gas pedal. The brakes are also really not great. And then I've noticed the auto stop start will just kick in when you're at about, a mile an hour or 2 miles an hour, causing to be just a bit of a jerky experience. You also can hear I keep getting weird sounding dings and stuff because of all the stuff that is not working on this particular example. In general, my biggest gripe with this particular example is just how poor the powertrain is calibrated in this. It's very hard to be smooth with it. Takeoffs are just pretty bad. You can hear also kind of the squeakiness of the brake pedal. And there, it turned on the auto stop start when I was still moving, which is just a little jerky of an experience. The re-engagement of the auto stop start is actually pretty good though. But the turn signal does not sound particularly premium. Go ahead and give it some juice here up to 55. You can see it's not particularly quick. The transmission is very lurchy in it and does not really engage very well or downshift well or really hold the gears well or keep this engine in its power band. I was surprised to see for the 221 foot-pounds of torque, that's at 1750 RPM, which I would expect a little more low-end grunt out of this, and it just doesn't really have that. Additionally, you can tell here at a little over 60 miles an hour, it's deafeningly loud in here. It does not have laminated windows or substantial sound deadening, so that does make sense. But it is something that you're going to have to live with. We have quite a bit of tire noise here, wind noise, and pretty much just every single noise that a car can have. In terms of the driving dynamics itself, it stays in the lane pretty well. The steering is a little very vague, but pretty on point. You kind of just point it where you want it to go and it goes there pretty well. Doesn't really wander or anything like that. Also had multiple experiences with when taking off and just applying light throttle where it's very stuttery and it kind of surges quite a bit. And after driving quite a few of the newer Chrysler products with the ZF 8-speed automatic transmission, I'm always blown away by just how well suited that transmission is for almost every single application that I've used it in, ranging from the pickup trucks to Wranglers and you know, even Dodge Challengers and other cars like that. And I'm always just shocked by how good it is, and for them to not be using that in this product is weird to me. And the 8F30 that they're using is really subpar. So hopefully in a future update they will give this a better transmission. It's just really hard to get a smooth start, is one of the biggest gripes that I have here. Pedal seems very vague in terms of actually giving you any feedback, and oftentimes I feel that the low part of the travel is very inconsistent in terms of actually engaging and giving you real throttle or not. And driving like this, it is refreshing to see some pretty well executed actual gauges here. They are a little more cartoony than I would like, and also the font size from side to side is weird that it's not the same with you know, if you look at the 5 here, or I guess the 6 here and then the 6 there, this 6 is substantially bigger on the RPM gauge, but a small thing. The center screen is pretty effective. It's a good size. This kind of hybrid blend works well in this situation here. And I really enjoy this steering wheel. The touch points on it are really good. It's a nice thick meaty steering wheel. It's got good size to it, and it is really nice to hold. I wish the heated steering wheel was a little more consistent with it being warm, but again, it could just be this example that has that. The sound system in it has been just fine. It's nothing that'll blow you away, but for being, you know, the base sound system here, it is pretty good, and I would hope that the upgraded sound system would give you quite a bit more kick. This screen here is very like iPad style and very far away from you, and it's leaned back with not the greatest color reproduction or actual contrast or crispness, which does lead you to feel that it's a little more cheaper of a unit. Additionally, it has really thick bezels. I mean, that's like a solid inch bezel all the way around, a little thicker, I guess, on the sides here than the top, but really big bezels, so you have a lot of kind of wasted space there, so it feels like you have a really big screen, and then you realize it's only about 10 inches. Very creaky brake pedal, as you can tell there. And in terms of gas mileage on a trip that I went on, well, to start off, it is rated at about 25 city and 32 on the highway, and I was seeing about 30 with a lot of back roads and starts and takeoffs. Let's go ahead and give it some gas again. So I kind of let off there at the end, but that was by far the best takeoff I've ever had in this car. That actually felt relatively snappy. So maybe if you get it at off the go like that, that's kind of the way to do it. I would estimate this to be with what I just experienced, low 7s, 0 to 60, so actually not terrible. Maybe like low, most of the time if you don't get a good launch like that, more in the low 8-second range. But for that experience, I would say that felt pretty solidly low to mid 7s. Talking about seat comfort real quick, these seats are actually pretty good in the comfort category. They are lacking a bit of thigh support, so kind of, you know, this isn't very far out. Me being 6'4", don't always get the best actual seat comfort out of cars, especially around the thigh support there. It does have a power driver's seat on this side, of course, and then the passenger seat is all manual. This side has lumbar and pretty standard, I would say like 6 or 8-way power seats, forward, backwards, up, down, and then recline, and you know, come back up from a recline. So probably about 6-way there, along with that lumbar support, making it total about 8 ways. Driving dynamic wise, going on a lot of these back roads and kind of whipping it around, it is a pretty light SUV, you can tell, or light crossover, I guess. And that does help it have pretty good dynamics in that front, but it does kind of lack in terms of being pretty crisp with the handling itself. It can feel a little floaty and you feel kind of perched up on top of the car. Again, it's a crossover, not something that most people really care about. In summation, this just really does feel like a old school Chrysler product from the early 2000s with some new tech thrown into it that doesn't really always work all that well, and some good screens and some good fit and finish in terms of the actual material usage. But it just, driving wise, it does not drive very well, from the powertrain to the driving dynamics. It just really does feel like an old product that has been kind of just kept up to date. Also, the switchgear feels so out of place here. So with all that being said, because this is such a competitive landscape in this specific market, I can't really recommend this. I wouldn't personally get it again as a rental car, for example. But for those people who do like it, let me know what you like about it, what its redeeming qualities are. Let me know in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe as well, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take it easy.